Hello, my name is Paul Neighbor. I'm a solar system integrator with Green Sky Solar, located in sunny Venice, Florida, and we provide solar solutions to all of Florida, specifically the southwest area. This is part one of a two-part presentation. Part one will talk about the renewable energy in general, what it is, and try to explain to you why it is important to our future. Part two of the video will focus in specifically on solar energy as the best renewable energy source to be used in Florida and how that can be accomplished. We've been hearing about renewable energy for more than 40 years now. In 1977, President Jimmy Carter made a very impassioned speech telling the country why renewable energy and alternative energy sources to fossil fuels was important to our future. And here we are 5 administrations later and about 30 years down the road, and our new president and Congress have now made renewable energy a cornerstone of the overall economic recovery plan for the country. I think this is a very important step, and I'd like to tell you why. For more than 50 years, we've known that the combustion of fossil fuels creates pollution that affects our air, water, land, and even our very health. In the last 15 years or so, an entirely new concern regarding global climate change has emerged. And the claim is that greenhouse gas emissions from fossil fuel combustion, in a large part, are responsible for changes to our global climate. Now, it's a very controversial subject, and whether you believe that or not, it's not important to this discussion. Because I think the real issue affecting the country right now has to do with the global depletion of fossil fuels. And no one, not even the big oil companies themselves, dispute the fact we are running out of oil. In fact, in 1971, the United States reached its own peak oil point. Peak oil is that point at which our consumption of fossil fuels, specifically oil, exceeded our ability to produce oil, and we became a net importer of oil and have been now for well over 30 years. Of the 65 countries on the planet that are capable of producing oil, less than 12 remain today as net exporters of oil. Everybody else is a consumer. Many scientists and economists will tell us that globally we will reach peak oil in less than 30 years. The big oil companies say more like 70 or 80 years, but nobody's disputing the fact that we are going to run out. And very soon, the worldwide demand for oil is going to exceed the worldwide ability to supply oil. Now, Economics 101 will tell you that when there's a big disparity between supply and demand is high, supply is low, the price of a commodity, in this case oil, is going to escalate very rapidly. Since it can take more than 20 years to develop and deploy any new energy source out into our economy to the point where it makes meaningful difference, our time to act is right now. If we fail to act now, literally our children are going to pay the price for this failure to act. And I don't even want to think what kind of a world our grandchildren are going to grow up in. To get some idea of what kind of a hurdle we do have to overcome, this pie chart shows the energy consumption by source to power our industry here in the United States. 86% of our energy comes from fossil fuels, and less than 15% comes from either renewable sources or nuclear. Our goal as a country has to be to reverse this ratio in the next 40 to 50 years. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. If we don't start working on this now, then when are we going to start? Is it a crisis? I think it is. Forget about pollution. Forget about global climate change. Just think about the economics of the whole situation. Every year, until we reach peak oil, the competition for oil resources on the planet is going to become more intense. The increase in oil prices is going to continue to escalate. And at some point, we're going to be at a position where there's not even enough oil to go around. Okay, renewable energy offers us a clean and sustainable alternative to fossil fuels. It does not pollute, and it doesn't run out. Making use of renewable energy now can give us a win-win-win solution to our future energy needs. It's a win for the planet, it can be a win for our country, and it can certainly be a win for each one of us as individuals. The top 10 renewable energy resources that are currently under consideration are shown on this chart. And this isn't a totally inclusive list. I'm sure there are others. I'm definitely sure that over time there will be something new added to this list, and maybe something will drop off of this list. But I'd like you to notice a couple of things about the current list that's being looked at. One is that the availability of renewable energy resources is geographically limited. For instance, those of us living here in Florida will probably not derive much benefit from hydroelectric energy. We just don't have the geology for it. Many people think that wind energy may be a solution to problems here in Florida. And this chart shows a map of the state of Florida. It's part of a nationwide study that was done by the U.S. Department of Energy, and it mapped the wind energy potential in various parts of the country. 1 being the lowest potential and 8 being the highest potential. And you'll notice by looking at this map that most of Florida is in the 1 category. There are some areas along our coastline that pop up into the 2s. But by and large, the state of Florida is not going to derive much energy from wind as its renewable energy source. Another thing I'd like you to notice about this list is that many of the sources here are not scalable. They don't go down well in size. Most of them are going to be most beneficial at the large plant level, regional power systems and major industrial facilities. There are a few of the technologies or sources, though, that are scalable, and they can be sized down to viable economic alternatives at the individual or small business level. Most notably in that category are geothermal energy, wind energy, and solar energy. Another thing I'd like you to notice about this list is that some of these energy sources are going to be more applicable to specialized or specific industries. For example, our transportation industry, cars, trucks, trains, planes, all of those are probably going to derive most of the benefit from either biofuels or hydrogen, or some kind of long-term storage for electricity that can be used as an energy source to power transportation needs. There is no one magic bullet here. No one source stands out above all the others as best. Our future is going to lie in some combination of these 10 or some other as yet unknown source. But it is going to require a tremendous effort and a great deal of time to figure this out and to make one or more of these energy sources our energy source in the future. What I'd like to do in part 2 of this presentation is focus in on solar energy and how that is applicable in the state of Florida. And that will be part 2 of the presentation. Thank you for your time.